Kiss.
Hey, it's your boy Mike K. Smith, also known as Akins, also known as Coolest Guy in Sports. Back with another overrated versus underrated. This time I have CJ McCollum on the menu. Is CJ McCollum overrated or underrated? In 68 games played, the CJ is averaging 34.1 minutes per game, 21.3 points per game, shooting 46.3 from the field, 38% from the three-point line. Also, 4 rebounds per game, 2.9 assists per game, shooting 89.1 from the free throw line, 0.4 blocks, and 0.8 steals per game. Is CJ McCollum overrated or underrated? Now, we heard for years that people kept saying, even this season, that you got to break up Dame. You got to break up the Dame and CJ backcourt. It's time. The problem is you're not going to fetch what people would say or what people would seem to expect from trading CJ McCollum. So you kind of got to split up the duel. If you're going to split up the duel, you got to trade Dame instead of CJ, because CJ's not going to fetch you the type of offer that Damian Lillard is. So it comes down to a few things. We know that CJ McCollum is one of the best mid-range shooters in the NBA. And we know he's not a good enough finisher at the rim when it comes to being efficient. He knows how to get to the rim, but when he gets to the rim, he's contested a lot, and sometimes he's taking bad shots because he's a smaller two guard. And people got to understand, it's kind of like there's a reason why 25% of his two-pointers in his career have been assisted, meaning that he needs the ball to work that part of his game. Basically, he needs the ball in his hands to slice you up, hit the mid-range jump shot. And it's kind of like the Trailblazers kind of take, hot potato, like you go next, CJ, you go next, Dame, to cross up the defense. And the difference between Dame and CJ is that Dame can score from anywhere on the court. Not saying CJ can't, but his outside shooting isn't his strongest asset, even though he's shooting 38% from the field, which is considered a high number for a three-point shot, field goal wise. But his scoring is not like Damian Lillard, because Dame can score inside, outside. He can score on all three levels. Not saying CJ cannot score at all three levels. I'm just saying that when CJ gets to the inside, it's particularly harder for him to score. And the difference is basically when it comes to the mid-range, like I said, he's one of the best mid-range snipers in the NBA. But if you're a top shooter and you shoot around 46 to 47% from the field, like CJ does in the mid-range department, that's not really a efficient shot. If he was shooting 50 to 55% for those spots, those mid-range spots, and that's a pretty efficient shot. The only value in the mid-range is that if it frees away from defenders or opens up the offense if you're running the pick and roll, similar to like CP3. That's why when he uses the mid-range, the pick and roll, the big opens up more. He's at the elbow, he shoots the jump shot. He opens up the small windows for the lob, and through the pick and roll, he's such a good passer, he's going to hit the center of the power forward for a lob, for an alley-oop dunk. Or using the pick and roll to survey the defense. So using the pick and roll to free yourself up to create opportunities for others, or to look at see what the defense is doing and make the decision based on what the defense is giving you. That's what CJ McCollum does not do. And that's what he needs to do for his mid-range shot to be more effective. He needs to be a better playmaker. He needs to hit the pick and roll more often if he's going to consistently use the mid-range. Or like Kyrie Irving. When someone like Kyrie Irving, the big comes up to sets the pick and roll. Now you can set that big up to accelerate, or Kyrie can get to the rim where he's such an excellent finisher of the ball. And like I said, CJ can get to the rim, but he's not a super great finisher at the ball. So the issue really comes down to this. When shooting his mid-range shot, CJ doesn't survey the defense using pick and roll, or he's not that great of a finisher at the rim. The mid-range shot will be more effective if he did those things, but he's never been a playmaker. He's always been undersized too, who's a bucket, but he lacks supreme athleticism as well compared to like the Donovan Mitchells of the worlds, when we're talking about smaller two guards who are supremely gifted athleticism-wise and also are still a bucket. So, which makes me believe that CJ is a really, really good player. One of these players that kind of get lost in the shuffle when you're talking about the best shooting guards in the league, or even the best guards in the West. But to be honest, I think he's a better off as a third option on a championship team, a real serious contender, or possibly the perfect six-man role like Lou Williams, where he can have the ball in his hands and basically be able to do whatever he wants on the floor when he's with the second unit. I think that's probably the ideal situation for CJ McCollum, playing on a serious championship contender or being the third option on a serious championship contender. That's why I don't believe in the Portland Trailblazers, because I don't believe they're going to get it done, because I just don't think CJ McCollum is really good enough for the Portland Trailblazers to have him as their second best player. So, this is the question. Is CJ McCollum overrated or underrated? It's a mixture of both. He's underrated because he's still, people sleep on him a lot. Like, people forget how talented and how good he is. He's overrated because he doesn't do the things on offense when it comes to being a supreme mid-range shooter that some of the great other point guards do in the game. Even though he's not a point guard, he's a shooting guard. So if I had to pick, I would say he's a little bit slightly overrated. I hate to say it, because if we're talking about the Portland Trailblazers being a championship contender or being a team that's going to get further past the first round of the playoffs or the second round of the playoffs, that's probably not going to happen with CJ McCollum as your second best player. And he has a decent sized contract, and basically, yeah, it's just not going to happen in my opinion. But what do you guys say? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think CJ McCollum is overrated or underrated? It's your boy, Mike K. Smith, also known as A-Kiss. Bifo family, basketball fans only. Please sub. Thank you for your support. Let's get me to 1,000 subs. I'm gone, man. Peace.